What happens in the moments before the cameras start rolling on Bangers and Cash? Rich from Scarborough. What happens just before? We're frantically trying to get microphones on. That's what happens just before. And then we're generally rushing around thinking, got to turn the radio off, tell him to shut up, be quiet, we're moving this, do it, you know. So most of the time, it's organised chaos. That's what it is, really. Right then, guys. We thought we'd catch up with a few more Q&As, really. You keep sending them in, so thanks for that. Apologies for me stance. My back still hurts, so I'm lent on this tailboard. However, on to some questions. How do you decide which cars to feature more heavily in your videos or on TV? Well, video-wise, our little videos that we do, each car stands on its own 2 feet, really. You know, we might spend an extra minute, for argument's sake, round something that deserves it, either because it's really good or really bad, either. TV-wise, really the producers decide. We give them the contacts and the leads, shall we say, but really the producers decide whether it's one to feature or not, and it really depends upon the car and the backstory. It's all really about the backstory, if you notice. The car can be lovely, but if the vendor's only had it for a fortnight, it's not really going to make a story. So generally speaking, if you notice, most of the things that are followed by the TV company, they have a backstory. They've been owned for a long time, or it was mum's, or it was bought because dad had one, or whatever. There must be some sort of a connection. So that's from Alfie in Blackpool. Well done. Have you ever found yourself bidding against another family member or a member of staff? Not necessarily, because between us all, if we see Dave bidding, if Dave bids, we don't bid against. I'll stop bidding. We have a BMW that's Battenberged up police car. It's been on a film set, it's ex-training car, whatever it might be. And I was bidding on that a little while ago, really for engine and gearbox in my mind. And I thought, well, we'll have a bit of fun with that. And I stopped, I shook my head and I walked off. And then Dave carried on and he had another bid or two and purchased the car. Now, I was kind of purchasing it for me, really. And then I said, you bought that BM? He said, well, yeah, I thought it might just be handy just to float about, keep around the estate, bits and pieces, which indeed we have, you know. So we weren't bidding against each other, but sometimes he'll see something that I don't, or I'll see something that he maybe doesn't. And so that's kind of how that happens, really. But no, as a rule, if one of us are interested in a lot, then we kind of know and just pull out, you know, leave it be. There's no point, no fun in bidding against your brother, is there? There's no point, is there? So that's that one, Nigel, well done. If you could only own one car for the rest of your life, what would it be? I'm asked this a lot. I don't know is the complete truthful answer. I like commercials. It would either be a real comfy, big old burbly something, car-wise, or it would probably be, I think it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It'd probably be a tranny van or something. Because I like commercials, you know. We have dogs, we have pickups. I run 2 pickups, me and the missus. Just handy, aren't they? Chuck the Labradors in the back, you know, the kids, the tools, the strimmer, whatever, you know. So, you know, we were out on over the weekend in my Isuzu, which is great. I love it. It's brilliant. It's a bit bumpy. Not great when you've got a bad back. Electric seat. That does me. That's it. I'm not that bothered, really. I used to enjoy my Bentley, and I will probably have another Bentley at some point, but at the moment, it'd be a commercial of some sort. Do you ever regret selling a car of yours? I don't think I regret. I sold a CJ7 Jeep years ago, which was my first proper restoration job. And I used it for a few years, couple of 3 years, whatever it might be, and I sold it. It was the right time to sell it for me. Regretted selling that, I suppose. Bought another one back a couple of years ago, sat in the shed, never used it, and indeed I sold that earlier this year. So it just didn't quite tick the boxes like the first one. I've grown up a bit, got a bit older, not quite as nimble, so yeah, probably regretted selling it. Probably not now. That was from Tom in Lincoln. Well done. It's a good question, that. What happens in the moments before the cameras start rolling on Bangers and Cash? Rich from Scarborough. What happens just before? We're frantically trying to get microphones on. That's what happens just before. And then we're generally rushing around thinking, got to turn the radio off, tell him to shut up, be quiet, we're moving this, doing, so most of the time it's organised chaos. That's what it is really. But if you notice, other than a few Q&A sessions and bits like this today, most of the time the cameras follow what we are doing day to day. We're not actors, you probably worked that bit out already. So it is very much an observational show. So we don't really do a lot of acting, to be honest. So that's that. What's the best car-related advice you've ever been given? I think it's buy the best of the particular car you can afford. There's no point in starting off, think you dip your toe into the classic car movement and you're going to buy a cheap, cheerful Mathewson, for argument's sake, couple of grand, cheap, cheerfully less. There's no point, because by the time you've given £1,500 then for a little Mathewson, thinking I won't spend loads of money, let's just have a cheap one and see if it's for me. And then you have to spend £3 welding it, painting it, all the rest of it. There's no point, is there? You might as well give £4 and have a real good one and have a load of fun and no aggravation and no grief. So yeah, that would be my top tip. Buy the best of the examples that you can afford. And if you've got Mathewson money, don't buy E-Type Jags. It doesn't work, We've got a guy here now trying to buy a Ferrari. He can't afford it, he wants to finance it and all the rest of it. Just buy a Fiesta. You'd be a lot better off. Long term, you'd be a lot better off. So buy the best you can find or afford, or both. What's your favourite memory from filming Bangers and Cash over the years? Tom from Southend. My favourite memory? Oh dear. Well, the one that sticks out, I wouldn't call it my favourite memory, if I'm being honest. We've got a tractor coming in. My favourite memory, or the most vivid memory I think is probably more to the point, is collecting the Mini, I think. It had been in that garage a long time, and none of us thought the Mini was going to come out in one piece. We thought we were going to end up with bits of a Mini. It was not clever. We had to put scaffolding boards underneath the sills and a ratchet strap right round the roof. I think we put 2 straps around it, if memory serves, thinking just try and hold it together, and then put the winch underneath the back and get it to the front, and it just went on and on and on. And it was a bit of an ordeal, really, myself and Charlie, when he was a little lad. So I think that's probably my most memorable Bangers and Cash filming, really. So yeah, it's a good question, that. Is there a car you've always wanted to drive but hadn't had the chance yet? Dean from Stirling. A car I wanted to drive and haven't would probably be a Fiesta Rally 2, Jack shouting out. No, I've got no desire to drive a Fiesta Rally 2. Yaris, Charlie shouts. No, I think then it would probably be, I've got a hankering one day to have a spin in a Bentley blower, something like that, something pre-war. I really want to get on with this type of market. Rolls Royce there looks lovely, magnificent car. Obviously far too old for me, really, but I just think they're magnificent. So I'd like to have a drive of one of them one day. What's your favourite part of auction day and the most stressful? Pete from Banbridge. The favourite part's going home. Most stressful part is the first time you walk on that rostrum up there. Obviously, the more we do, Jack's come on leaps and bounds. I didn't go on so much this last time, but the first time you go up there and you start, the first lot you start to sell, that's probably the most stressful time. Yeah, trying to remember what you should be doing, what you should be saying, and a 10, 20 second silence up there feels like 3 minutes at home, and I'm really conscious of that. But at the same time, you don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, do you? People get sick and fed up with it. So that's probably the most stressful bit. But yeah, favourite bit's going home. And have you ever had a car arrive that looked better in the photos? That's Carol from Perth. Every day, Carol. Every day without fail. Something will turn up and you think, that I've seen that before, but not that. You know, there's an old camper van on site now, and the photos that were sent looks in the condition of this P100. The car that's arrived, it's not scrap by any means, but it is a mega project. You know, the pictures must have been taken 15, 20 years ago. They must have been, and to the tune that I said, yes, I've seen a picture of a van looking like that, but it's not that. And the pictures must have been taken 10 or 15 years ago, which is balmy, innit? Because it's come up with a 3 grand reserve, and the things were £300. You know, just pointless, just wasting everybody's time. So, yep, every day. Who's the best driver in the family and who's the worst? Lynn from Southampton. Do you know what? I think that's a difficult question, that, because we're all fairly handy behind the steering wheel. It's going to be the boys now, innit? Us older ones are over the hill a bit, aren't we? Certainly when it comes to the speed side of things, you know, reactions have slowed down, all the rest of it. It's the toss-up between Jack and Charlie, both of which are very, very good. Yeah, it'd be one of them two, being the best. The worst? Who's the worst in the family? I don't know, really. We're lucky as a family because we've grown up around vehicles and movements and everything else, and we're all fairly handy, really, on just jumping in something and going. You know, we know the width, we know the length, we know this and that and the other. So I think we're all about as bad as each other, really. Yeah. Have any of you ever bought a vehicle that you regret buying? Of course we have. Yeah. Tony from Redcar. Of course we have. Everybody. Anybody that says no to that question has never bought one, have they? They've never bought anything, because we all have. You know, you put your hand up, don't you? Think it's a great idea, and then 2 days later you think, what did I do that for? Why? So yes is the honest answer to that. And as I say, I think anybody who can say no, I've never bought anything and regretted it, they're telling you porkies, aren't they? Because we all regret it at some point, really. What does a typical auction day look like for you behind the scenes? Dave from Halifax. It's busy, Dave. That's what it is. I split my time between the rostrum and the provisionals. There's 2, 3 or 4 of us on provisionals at any one time, depending on how many we get, of course. The rostrum bit there, once you've done your stint and you come off, obviously it's just nice to just get a cup of tea or whatever it might be and relax a little bit. Jack and Dave do that. Dave goes upstairs, does a few emails. I come downstairs and get stuck in with provisionals again. I'm really keen auction period not to fall behind with provisionals. We've just finished our timed auction, finished yesterday. I think I've converted 36, another 36 deals. I don't know how many were in it, 50 cars or something like that. There might have been 60 cars, but anyway. So we have a really good conversion rate, you see. So it's a very, very important element of the business, you know. It's important up there on the rostrum, but it's equally as important in that office in there, putting deals together and trying to find some mutual ground. So I go home normally most nights after auction, 3 days of it, with my head spinning. But that's life, innit? That's how it is, innit? Which one of you has the messiest desk or workspace? That's Karen from Plymouth. That's me, Karen. I'm bombarded with bits of paper. Can you ring this? What's that? How's this? Who's that? And all the rest of it. And I tend to ring, speak, address whatever I've been asked to do, and then tick it and put it in a pile. So my desk up there, I'm going to have a thin out. But so many times you throw it away and then somebody will say, have you still got, or somebody else will ring or whatever. And it's just handy for reference, isn't it? So I have to have a muck out every couple of weeks, otherwise I wouldn't get to my desk, really. What's your go-to takeaway after a long day? Josh at Leeds. After a long day at auction, I actually quite like a bit of either an Indian or a Chinesey type thing, something like that. We have a good curry house there, if you want to call it that, in the town. And they're good guys. They look after us around there. We go around a bit, and we go around as a team. One evening during the auction period. So it's probably that, really. Yeah, quite tasty, aren't they? Not that you would tell by looking at me, of course. You would think I was on salads, wouldn't you?
Not forgetting your chippy lunch as well on Friday.
And yeah, we're lucky, really, because yeah, Chippy Steve, he has a van, and he comes round. He's out there now. I see everyone's eating theirs. I haven't got any today. I'm on a bit of a diet. But Chippy Steve comes round auction day, and indeed every Friday, which is good. Just pulls up on the estate out there, so that's handy. And I do, it's quite like a fish and chips, I must admit. Anyway, moving on. Do you ever find time to go to classic car events as a visitor? Have you any planned this year? Jean from Darlington. Well, the thing is, Jean, I quite enjoy going to the odd event, but when you go to an event, when I go to an event, I'm at work. So even if it's a day out with a family, they don't like coming with me. Ange and Kate don't like coming. Charlie don't mind, but Ange and Kate don't like coming with me because you're pestered and bombarded, to be blunt. So loads of people, which is lovely, that's lovely. That's part of being in the public eye, isn't it? But people, oh, Paul, oh, brilliant, come and have a look at my car. What do you think this is worth? I've got one of these. Would you be interested in this? And you are never more than a few minutes away of being, I don't want to say hassled, because that's the wrong word, because it's very humbling, really, but you're not off. It's not a day off. It's very, even if it's a day off, it's a work day, and that takes the fun off it, really. So I don't go to very many. By the time the weekends come, I'll be honest, I'm burnt out, and I just want to go home and not really see anybody, to be quite honest, which is quite sad. But anyway, I like my own company at home and my dogs. What's the most unusual vehicle you've ever sold at auction? Brian from Newcastle. The most unusual vehicle we've ever sold. Jaguar Beeman. They only made a handful of them. Unusual vehicle. Rolls Royce. There, look. It would be probably one of them too, being the scarcest, I would have thought. Beeman would be the most scarce, which isn't the most attractive car, but I think they made about 9 of them. So that springs to mind anyway, put it like that. Which car brand do you think has the most loyal following when it comes to classic owners? It's got to be Ford, isn't it? It's got to be Ford. They did a fabulous job, didn't they, at marketing? And obviously there was a model for every era, every budget, every genre, shall we say. So I would think the most loyal following is probably going to be the Ford guys. They're very keen, very enthusiastic, and let's be fair, they're a good car, aren't they? So I think it's a Ford. And to finish off, if you could bring back one car or a brand that's no longer around, which would it be? Alan from Dundee. If I could bring back a brand that's no longer around, that's a good question. What's no longer around? I think I would probably bring back Morris. Morris must be very much a true British, very, very British in its design, in its development, production, everything else. And I think it's a tragedy that we lost Morris. Morris 1000, I'm looking at one over there now. Little Morris 1000. Obviously the minis, etc. Fantastic, weren't they? Really, I know they weren't the most desirable, the fastest, and all the rest of it, but iconic car, iconic. So I think from a British production point of view, yeah, Morris. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm going to go now and sit down and hopefully rest me back a bit and get on with some more emails. Until next time, over and out. 4,600 pounds, there you go. Thank you. That's 47. That's what you will.